I just put this online thing on a pedestal, right? I think a lot of us have done that, right? Especially for those of us that have shifted. A lot of people that had to shift in 2020, they put this online thing on this pedestal, making you think it's really, really hard. But it's business, right? And so all the things that I've done over the last 18 years in the brick and mortar space, all that's come with me. And so once I got over that, it was full steam ahead.
Hey, what's up, everybody? And welcome to Masters in Fitness Business Podcast, where you get to stand on the shoulders of giants. And today we have a giant coming to you from the great state of Texas, Austin, Texas, by way of Brooklyn, New York. We got James Quigley. He is the founder of Amplify Business Coaching. And if you're looking to develop an online service, he is the man that you want to talk to. So James, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Jim. Great being here, man. I appreciate it.
Yeah, no, I know we had some technical difficulties. I got locked out of my own house, and and my internet went out, but we're getting it done. So so you've been doing Amplify coaching for about 2 years. Before that, you were in the gym business, kind of brick and mortar, a little bit on the training side, but on the operation side. So what made you decide to make the switch?
Owning a brick and mortar is a huge requirement, right? It's a huge sacrifice. And I've done it for so long. And I was at a point in my life where I kind of turned around and I was like, okay, am I ready to dedicate another 10 to 15 years to this? As I moved to Austin, we wanted to open up some really classy looking high-end luxury fitness offerings here in Austin. And I remember being on a Saturday morning and just kind of sitting outside, and I was like, I don't know if I want to do that. I don't know if I want to be the guy that's in the gyms anymore. And that's when I decided to kind of go on a journey to figure out what was next. So that was it was about 4 years ago where I decided I no longer wanted to work in the brick and mortar space.
Okay. And then, so what made you land on the online space?
So for about 2 years, I didn't know what I wanted to do. I knew I wanted to continue coaching. I loved coaching. It's in my blood, but I didn't know what I wanted to coach. So I kind of started dipping my toes in the things that I was consuming, which was a lot of mindset stuff, a lot of lifestyle practices. Was kind of going through some personal development and spiritual development. So I started to dip my toes in those waters. And I started to acquire some clients, and I quickly realized, oh, I don't want to do this. I am not qualified for this. Just because I'm going through it doesn't mean I can teach it, right?
Mm-hmm, right.
And so there's so much resistance. So the clarity came from working with a life coach through the Tony Robbins coaching program. And he kind of brought me to a place where just kind of I was able to acquire the clarity. I was like, man, I've been doing this for so long. I have so much to offer in this space. Why am I not doing it? Where was the resistance coming from? And it was a lot of imposter syndrome. A lot of us deal with that. And so because I just put this online thing on a pedestal, right? I think a lot of us have done that, right? Especially for those of us that have shifted. A lot of people that had to shift in 2020, they put this online thing on this pedestal, making you think it's really, really hard. But it's business. Right. And so all the things that I've done over the last 18 years in the brick and mortar space, all that's come with me. And so once I got over that, it was full steam ahead.
Okay. Got it. Yeah, I can relate to almost everything you just said about how the brick and mortar, the joke that I always say to other gym owners or other business owners for that matter is that sometimes you want to burn it down. And sometimes it's the greatest thing in your life. And that's all before lunch.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So, I get the whole brick and mortar thing, but I like the life. Well, I like the life journey because I think that's really important if number one for your life, but if you're going to be a leader in any capacity, I think you need to learn how to lead yourself.
Yes.
And just because you're going through it is a great point doesn't mean that you can coach it. So I really like that. So now you land, and then the imposter syndrome, I had a guest on, he said we all suffer from imposter syndrome because as entrepreneurs, because we're always afraid that people are going to go, well, you're just making this shit up.
Yeah.
You're just making it up as you go along. And the truth of it is we are, because there's nothing there. So we're taking nothing and creating something. So we literally are just making it up as we go along. So there is some truth to that, but I can see how we can fall prey to that imposter syndrome. And online is like, you're afraid that I was afraid that there's no way I'm going to be able to wrap my head around the skill set necessary to make that work.
Right.
Is that something that you were going through as well?
Yeah, because I put the social media aspect of it first. Right. I think that's what a lot of people do. I know a lot of the coaches that I work with, they put the social media aspect of it first. And it's like social media is just a very small part of it, right? It's just the way it's a platform that we use to market ourselves. And so because of that, that's where a lot of the imposter syndrome was. But I love what you said. It's like, yeah, we're just making this shit up. However, it's in being honest with that. If you can be transparent about that, yeah, I'm making this up, but I'm bringing you along with me. So if you want to come with me, let's go. And if you don't, no problem. So I love that because that's absolutely true. Yeah. But as long as we're transparent about it, I think that's where the imposter syndrome comes from for a lot of people. Is it's like they're too scared to be shown as a beginner. Mm-hmm. Right? I know that for me, it was like I was this expert, I was this leader, I was this guy that kind of knew it all in the gym space. And the best part that I realized after, once I hit 40 was I don't know shit. I'm learning everything as I go again. So
I agree with you. Because we all want, we hear that phrase authenticity, be authentic to who you are and your mission and all of that. But part of being authentic is being vulnerable. And that's admitting you're scared, you don't know all, you don't have all the answers, all those things. So I'm on board with you there. So you work with the life coach through the Tony Robbins program, and you got to a point of clarity where you said, okay, I can really make an impact on this online space. So what kind of impact did you start out thinking that you could make? And where did you start with building that platform?
The impact came when I started to look at my old business plan for the gyms that I had. And I was like, okay, each gym will probably have anywhere between 10 to maybe, if we're lucky, 20 professionals working in that space. Okay, that's a pretty decent impact. And I said those 10 to 20 people, they'll be able to impact, anywhere between 20 to 30 people themselves. Okay, that's a couple of hundred people. That's a pretty decent impact. And I started to think, I want more. I want to make a greater impact. So if I'm stuck in four walls, how am I going to make that greater impact? Where's that space going to be? And so that's where I started to look at is online. And because I have an international background, because I used to work overseas, and I've hosted a lot of fitness events in Europe and in the Middle East, I knew that there was an opportunity to help coaches in that space. And so luckily I was able to go online, and the impact that I'm seeing now is in working with coaches who, for whatever reason, they don't have all the information that we have here, right? They're always a little bit behind. Even though internet has made the world a lot smaller, we take for granted what we know, right? And when I'm able to share it with trainers and coaches who've never learned this kind of stuff, whether it be sales or marketing or any kind of, social media hacks, or just kind of the basics of how to operate a fitness business, it's so awesome to see these trainers and these coaches just they're so appreciative of it, and they take it and they run with it. So for me, it's that kind of impact to see the ripple that they go out there and then create in a community like Kuwait or Germany or Dubai or something like that, even in the UK. And it's like, whoa, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, I agree with you there as far as making the impact. And so going back to what you were saying about the mindset stuff, right? And the journey of self-discovery. and you said you came to the conclusion that just because you were going through it, you couldn't coach it. So what's the difference with the online coaching? Why do you feel like you have the capacity to coach that?
Glad you asked that. So I did it, right? I did it. I was like, how am I going to do this? And I literally remember my coach saying, well, what's your plan? How are you going to get clients? And I was like, oh, I'm going to go to the gyms and I'm going to sit in front of the owners and I'm going to present them a business plan. He's like, how is that scalable? And I'm like, that's tiring, actually. You're right. And so I came with the clarity, or I discovered I need a business coach now. Thank you to my coach, the life coach, for discovering that, but I need a business coach. I need to follow someone that's been doing this. And so I hired my first business coach, and I was able to kind of learn from him exactly that I'm putting this thing on a pedestal, right? It's all of the same theories and practices of running a fitness business. The only thing that's changing is the environment, right? That's it. Maybe some marketing tactics are going to change. Maybe a little bit of strategies are going to be slightly different. Maybe you've got to learn how to write your copy better, right? You got to learn to speak into the camera a little bit more deliberately and intentionally. That's it. Everything else is the same. And I was like, oh, okay. So you still need a vision. You still need to make decisions on your core values. You still need to understand how systems operate. You still need an onboarding process. Oh, and guess what? We've all been working online anyways. Mm-hmm. Because everything within the fitness business, whether you're in a brick and mortar or you're in a boot camp in a park, you're operating online anyways, because all of that's already virtual. So the only thing that changed was where you're doing the coaching and where you're doing the marketing. That's it.
Yeah, I like that. Anytime you can take something that seems complicated and simplify it, that's always a win in my book. And you're absolutely right. It is the same thing. So, and I like that you were talking about the excitement of seeing those coaches experience success once they get the tools that they need or acquire that skill set to become an owner. Because that's why I started the podcast, is that, you know, there's a lot of great trainers that never acquire the skill set to become a great business owner.
Yes.
And so then they wind up not being a trainer for long and going to another profession. So I respect the fact that you're willing to teach those coaches and they're willing to learn that skill set so they can experience success. And because I always find, at least now, I think it's changing a little bit, but it used to be a real competitive environment in fitness, the fitness industry. I'm gonna protect my secret push-up because it's what, you know, it separates me from all the other trainers. Nobody else knows this push-up. But, you know, push-up's a push-up, right? A lunge is a lunge, a squat's a squat, you know, all of those things. So we've discovered that it takes more than that, more than just the programming side to be successful, whether you're in a brick and mortar or online. So what do you think has caused that shift from being a competitive environment to more of a collaborative environment?
I think the entire industry initially was built on a scarcity mindset. You know, if you look at the way we build we ran our billing, right, for personal training was trading your time for money, right? And it was like, I remember my first training job, I was getting paid $22.50, you know, $22.50 for an hour, right? That doesn't seem like a lot now, but that was a lot, you know, 18, 19 years ago for me at that point as well, being a young guy. I think the entire industry was on a scarcity mindset. It was like, here are my clients, don't talk to my clients. Why are you talking to my client, right? You see that, like, you saw that happening on the fitness floor. You're like, man, I see him every day. How am I not going to say hi to him, right? He's a great guy. And I think what started to happen is people started to do a lot more of that mindset work. They started to do a lot more of that abundance work. People started to understand that you're not going to get rich and become a multimillionaire in the fitness industry. So I've got to take what I'm making in the fitness industry and I got to maybe learn how to invest it. So that requires you to change the way you think about money. And I think that's really happened in the fitness space. Also social media. right? It's like, I need people to know my method. I need people to know that awesome secret push-up. Well, I kind of got to share it now, because the only way for people to notice me is to do this super secret awesome thing that I'm really good at. So I think that's also lend into like, okay, we've got to be open a lot more. And here's another thing that really changed. Whether you agree with their methods, whether you like them or not, I think CrossFit changed the game for a lot of people. I think when CrossFit came on the scene, they led with community. They led with like, we're gonna kick the door in, and we're just gonna do these weird looking pull-ups, and we're gonna throw this bar all over the place, but we're gonna high five and we're gonna hug it out afterwards. And that changed the landscape. That changed the game for a lot of people, right? That made strength training in a group environment doable. Because before then, I don't know too many people that were doing that, right? And so I really believe CrossFit really changed the game in terms of like group fitness and group training. And then you started to see obviously all of these other brands pop up and just kind of take what CrossFit did, just maybe make it look a little nicer, maybe feel a little bit more safer, maybe take their trainers and kind of put that old school Gen X person in there to have a more of a bubbly personality. Then you saw Soul Cycle come on board, and they're all about tribe, and they're all about bringing people together. So I think that all started to lend into like, okay, it's time we can play nice with one another.
Yeah, and while creating communities where they had a common mission, a common bond, all driving toward one another, created that collaboration, which then bled over to other areas of fitness. Yeah, that's very good. I like that.
So what do you think? I'm sorry. Like, you've been in the game forever. What was it like for you, like operating, like working the floor or working in the gym space? Do you remember people being super competitive with you?
Yeah, I started out. I started personal training in January of 1990. Don't do the math because I'm old. I don't want you to. I don't want you to know how old I am. Yeah, and it was old school one-on-one training. We charged $35 an hour for one-on-one training.
And 35, yeah.
Yeah, and then we had our own stable of clients, and then we kept like paper records, and whenever we trained somebody, and that's how we got paid. And yeah, it was like old school, but we all kept our stable of clients. It was up to us to generate our clients, that whole thing. And so that's where that kind of competitive environment. And then there was also kind of a competition within the trainers on because the boss would drive this. The guy who owned the studio would drive this. It's like, oh, Jim had the most hours, and then everybody else sees it. Oh, Jim had the most training hours. Okay, well, Jim's the top dog. We're after him now. Right. So it was one of those things. And so it was definitely a competitive environment. And we were one of two training studios. We're the second training studio in St. Louis. We had 1,000 square feet. And then so there was two studios. Now you can throw a rock and hit 10 of them. But yeah, it was very, very competitive. And even it still remains so. It's getting a little bit better. But yeah, but I think it's because of those changes that you mentioned with the rise of culture and fitness, right, and the internet, and and mindset work. All of that has kind of lend itself to more of a collaborative environment. And I'm happy about it because I think it's been the other way for way too long. So I'm all about collaboration because especially now, the small independent operators like myself and other friends of mine that I know that own independent brick and mortars or even just online businesses, and we have to collaborate. I think it's more imperative for us to collaborate in order to stay competitive with some of the bigger brands out there, in order to stay competitive with the Orange Theories and the F45s and what have you. So I think it's even more important for us to get together and share our best practices and elevate our games together.
Yeah, I agree. I really do agree with that. You look at the capital that they're able to put behind their brand, right? And so you turn that into marketing. And so they're able to capture people that are sitting on the couch, right? They're able to
Mhm.
capture that kind of clientele. And so if you guys can get together and you guys can brainstorm and you guys can put your best ideas forward and, share where your mess ups are happening, you're able to kind of clean up a lot of the things that are going to make the product better for the customer. That's really what it comes down to, right? It's not, that's all we're doing is we're trying to make a better experience for the user, and we're trying to get that person that is on the couch, make their life easier. The person that's a super enthusiast, keep challenging them, right? And everything in between.
Yeah. And I think we can also take lessons and kind of hijack some of their tactics. Like one of the things that Peloton does really well is they make their instructors superstars.
Yes.
They really do a great job of promoting their instructors so that you go to Peloton, not necessarily because it's Peloton, it's because you want Bobby or Susie or whatever you want a class with them, you want to work with them. So I think the smaller independent players can do the same thing. They can do the same thing and use it to their advantage. Make your trainers the superstars, because your trainers really spend more time with your members than you do.
Yeah, that's where that scarcity mindset comes from. I'm glad you brought that up. So I've talked to so many smaller business owners, smaller operators, and they're so afraid to do that because then they believe if this person decides to go out and do their own thing, they're going to take all the people that love them with them. And that's happened, right? That's happened. But that typically happens when you have an ownership that isn't doing the right thing by either their staff, by the community in which they promise to serve, by that instructor or that personality, right? They're not investing in them. They're no longer investing maybe back into the gym, right? And then they're not even there a lot of the times. And so that's where that scarcity comes from. But if these owners just kind of understood that, they just understood that I'm so passionate about operating the gym. You're passionate about leading the community. Let's lock arms. What can I do to further develop this relationship? Maybe it is giving some points, some ownership points. Maybe it is paying, for, giving them a little bit of extra cash for their own growth and their development. It can be something as small as cleaning your gym, right? But whatever it is, it's like find out what that thing is and then just lean into that versus, no, it's not about you. Everybody's replaceable. I hate that mentality. I can't stand that mentality.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think it goes back to, like you said, it's all about the end user experience. And I think the fitness industry can be a little incestuous, meaning we kind of get together and we kind of share the same ideas, and the same ideas get recycled, and so then it makes it harder for something new to come in. And so they're always thinking like trainers instead of thinking like their members or clients, or even like you said, that person on the couch, or what Rick Mayo calls the 80%, because 80% of the population don't have a gym membership and don't go to the gym and are afraid and scared shitless to step foot in a gym. So if you can dip into that 80%, then it's a gold mine, but you're going to have to think differently to make that happen.
Yeah, for sure. I love what you said about, you mentioned Peloton. What makes those players so powerful sometimes is they're not afraid to think outside of the box with the talent they bring in. And I'm not just talking about the talent that leads the community. I'm talking about the leadership talent, right? They'll go out and they'll get someone from a Starbucks, or they'll get someone that's led a tech company. They'll get someone that's led someone, because they know those minds are going to bring new ideas. So if you're an owner or you're an operator, don't be afraid to try something new. Don't be afraid to reach out to people in other industries, because they may have something that's going to be able to be really helpful for you.
And hire somebody who's smarter than you.
Always. That's a good one. I like that.
Yeah.
So true.
They should add to your team, right?
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah.
Don't be afraid of that. That's so true.
Yeah. So question I have is is a question on my mind, and I think a lot of people's is going forward. I mean, coming out of COVID, we thought everybody scrambled to get online, right? And everybody that was online exploded, right? And so everybody's like, okay, online is the place to be. Then there's like a gold rush to get online. But now the pandemic seems to be receding a little bit. People are craving, community and connection. And so people are heading back to the brick and mortars.
Yeah.
So now people are starting to pull back a little bit on the online. So where do you think that's going to settle moving forward?
That's a great question, and one that I'm constantly answering and one that I'm constantly doing research on. And I'll start with this. People are craving community. Like people, and not only community, but like connection, right? Community is platform, right? Connection is what happens in the community. So people are really craving that. So if you know that, okay, that means I got to do both. But remember what I said earlier, we were already online. The way we operate, the way we run our systems, everything's virtual anyways. So the best way to do it is, I think, really going forward, you're going to have both. And so from a training perspective and a coaching perspective, if you're someone that sees someone one-on-one, right, or maybe even in a small group, well, now because they've got a taste of being able to do some workouts at home, now you can serve them from a greater level. Now you can give them both, right? And that's what I teach. I'm like, still continue to hold all your training platforms, all your programming platforms, whether it's Trainerize, True Coach, whatever you're using, put everybody on that. Put everyone on that so that this way they have their workouts, they can track it. And then you can also now upsell additional workouts at home. You can upsell the results still, right? Still go after the result. I think that's here to stay now, where we're selling a result. When we were selling the gym experience, we're selling the experience, the community. But I think now people got a taste of the result. So continue to push that, right? But you can still bring them people in. You can still train them one-on-one. You can still train them in a group. But now they've got a taste of being able to also have these other things online. I think you need to be able to do both.
Yeah. So like have the online as a adjunct or add-on.
Yes.
To whatever you're doing.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And then when you say sell the result, could you say more about that?
Yeah. So we used to just sell the experience, especially in CrossFit, it was all about the community, right? But at the end of the day, I have a goal. Well, I've got a couple of goals that I really want to achieve. And so what does that look like, right? And I think for each coach, now that they understand that it's about a result, then it can still further along, get tighter on their niche, get really clear on the problems that they're going to solve in the marketplace. That's not going to change now. In fact, that's going to enhance their ability to attract more leads, attract more of their ideal clients. So there's no going back from that, right? And the people that go back to trying to like sell an experience, I think they're going to struggle, right? Because now you have all of these other players in the space that they adopted these awesome marketing practices and these awesome marketing theories that other industries do. And so now they're like, hey, like I know how to create a strong niche. I know how to clearly solve problems, and I know how to use the customer's language to communicate that. So now I'm really going to be able to attract leads very intentionally.
Okay. All right. Sounds good. And then, so somebody who's just starting out, right? What's their jump off point? How do they start to build an online business?
I got to unpack this one. So if you're brand new to coaching, like brand new, you just got your certification, trying to break into online coaching is going to be very difficult. I truly believe you got to get your hands on in this industry. You got to go work in a gym. So I would say, try to find a space where you can work at, try to find a place. Maybe you can latch on to some of these companies that offer streaming, where you can stream and you can be the lead instructor on their streaming service. But trying to acquire people without really getting your hands on what's going to feel good and what you're going to offer, it's going to be very difficult. But if you're someone that's been training people, but now you want to move your business online, you don't know where to start, here we go. You got to first understand your vision, right? Where you want to go, because vision is going to drive your purpose. right? So you got to get really clear on your vision. You got to get really clear on your mission statement. And then you got to get really clear on your business core values. Like those three things, they're going to help you to drive this business forward because values drive decisions, right? Once you have that, that's your foundation. Now you go get clarity on who you're going to serve, right? So you want to get a really good understanding of your ideal customer. If you haven't really been working with a lot of people, you don't really know what that looks like. That's okay. A lot of us started there. I myself started there. So what you do is you kind of think back who you were about 3 to 5 steps ago, right? Where were you when you were at your lowest? Where were you when you were struggling? Where were you? Maybe you weren't at your healthiest, weren't at your fittest. That's your person. That's where they are right now, right? So once you kind of have an idea of that, now you want to go do some market research, right? Go grab maybe some old clients that you used to work with, maybe some current clients you're working with. Go grab some people that kind of fall underneath that umbrella a little bit and just start talking to them. Just record every conversation that you have. Ask them a really good, solid, good questions on, what are you struggling with? What are you afraid of? What are you frustrated most by because of those fears? What do you want? And what are your aspirations from those wants? Once you have that data, it's really important. Now you can take that data and now you can really understand what problems you're going to serve in the marketplace. That's going to help you to position your product. Because I love what we do in today's business world. We don't just create a product and you're going to go find customers. We find customers, and then based on their problems, that's where products are formed now. And I love that. I love that. I didn't create that, guys, by the way. That didn't come from me. That's the marketplace. That's the business that's being taught now to many and thousands of business owners. And I feel we're in such good positions as a society because of that.
Yeah. Yeah. I like that you didn't mention any type of like business plan or model or anything like that in any of that. It's all like intellectual property, conceptual stuff, right? Because that's your foundation. So if somebody's struggling, if they've never written a vision or a mission statement or core values, what are some resources or where can they go for help on that?
That's a good, really good question. I mean, I think there's some really good players in this space in terms of like, you got Tony Robbins, right? Who's really good. I mean, he's the coach of coaches, right? So if you can consume some of Tony's stuff, that'll help you to really gain some major clarity on where you want to go. You've got a guy like Ed Milet. I think Ed's pretty strong in that field too. He's really good, solid guy because you're going to need clarity, right? And the way you get clarity is you got to clear the plate. You got to clear what's on your head. So if you got all this stuff up there, it's going to be really hard to get clear on what you want, right? What you want. And then, just get out there and do your research. My coach, who cooked us up, Dan Henderson, shout out to him. He's fantastic at this stuff. Dan is probably one of the best guys in that, like when you talk about creating a vision, creating your core values, your mission statement, that foundation of what your business is going to be built on, there's not many guys better than Dan.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I was really impressed with him. And every time that I had an interaction with him, I agree with you 100%. Because once you have that type of clarity on your vision, your mission, and your core values, then that drives everything. That drives your business model, everything. So that answers a lot of questions before they even get asked.
For sure.
So I like that. So let's go the other way, the other end of that continuum. Say you've got a successful brick and mortar and it's well established, and now you want to launch an online, portion. Where do they start?
It starts with your staff. Starts with your staff, and you develop your staff first. Because if you go out there and you do all the work, well, guess what? You're giving yourself more work, and no one then knows how to do anything, right? So it starts with your staff. bring in your staff and develop them the same way they would develop themselves as individuals, right? Start to develop that program by developing your staff. Then you got to kind of figure out, well, how do I want to do this? If I'm a gym that has a really big following, say I'm a very popular gym and I've got maybe thousands of followers on my Instagram, people drop in all the time, then it probably serves you best to maybe put something like on the lower end, right? Mm-hmm. Something like a nice subscription model, because you've got all the followers, right? The hard work's already done. But if you don't, you're kind of somewhere in the middle or you're somewhere on the lower end, it's going to be really hard to attract the masses, right? So you kind of want to have something where you have a really strong staff that can start to bring in these leads. At that point, I would look at some really good, solid resources of people that teach that stuff. One that comes to mind is Alex Hormozi. I mean, I don't think it's any better than that guy, right? He is solid. I believe what's his company called? Gym Launch, right? Shout out to Alex if he ever hears this, but I don't think there's a guy that's better in the space that's taught people how to get out there and bring in leads into their gym. And so it still applies, whether you're going to train them in the gym or they're going to train at home, they're going to get programmed by an instructor of yours. It's the same principles, right? All the same marketing applies. The only thing that changes is the environment in which the product's going to get delivered on.
Okay, got it. I like it. So it's capitalizing on what you already have. And again, going out and hiring somebody smarter than you that knows more than you about it.
That's it. Yeah. And delegate, don't be afraid to delegate, because that kills us as owners, right? And I can be guilty of that as myself is, I want to hold everything. I want to control everything, but there are people smarter than me. And if I can bring them on, they're going to make my life so much easier. They're going to make us move faster. So why not put your ego aside and try to grab some talent?
Yeah. And I like that, what you said about tapping your staff first, because it goes back to that abundance mentality too, because because I just started a podcast for my club, but now I'm committed to doing a podcast every week. And then I have to edit it, all that stuff. So if I switch over and let my staff do it, then it takes it off my plate. And plus, if a potential client or lead sees that, and then they come in, they're going to see them anyway. They're probably not going to see me, right. So it totally makes sense for that. And then it makes them, it builds them up, builds the staff up, gives them some type of ownership in the business as well. So I do like that. All right, man. What's that?
So that's so important. Your staff needs to have buy-in. They need to feel appreciated. They need to feel like their opinions matter, or else they're just going to go do their own thing, right? Yeah. If they can't grow with us, then they're gonna find somewhere to grow.
Yeah, you got to get them committed to the vision and mission just as much as you are. So that helps them kind of sink their feet in, so that they can really, lean into it as well. So I think that's all that I have on all the questions I had on online training. I know there's one more, but I do have one more. So you were talking about marketing, right? When you were talking to your coach about how you were going to market this thing, and you were going to basically go door to door, with gym style, which sounds exhausting. But so if you have an online business, how do you market it?
So I wrestled with this for a while, right? Because everybody's like, go to social media, go to Instagram, go to Facebook, pick one, right? LinkedIn, and you get all of these things. I've come back to it. It really comes back to still your circle of influence. And your circle of influence, I teach, and I've been teaching this from the very beginning, 18 years ago, are the people that are connected to you already, right? So you have one group that's your inner circle of people, close family, close friends. Then you have that right outside that inner circle, which are probably the clients you're working with already, your former clients, and then the people you work with, and maybe some friends outside of that, right? Then you have the fourth pillar, right, are people outside of that, and all those people's families and friends.
Okay.
Right. And then you have your final pillar, which are your Instagram list, your Facebook list, your email list, right? So you have these 4 lists. And obviously, the first list is going to be a lot smaller than that last list. And I truly believe that's where it starts, because all my customers, they may have found me online, but they got connected to me through someone I already met. So that circle of influence is really going to serve you in your first couple of years. Now, the social media aspect comes into place as the place where you're going to establish your credibility and build your authority. Because what's going to happen is somebody from that list is going to get recommended to you. Oh yeah, you should reach out to my friend. She's phenomenal. Yeah, her name is blank blank, and you can go, here's her Instagram. Now she's going to go to your Instagram. She's going to check you out a little bit. She's going to consume your content for a couple of weeks, right? And then all of a sudden, you're going to hit that. You're going to put the right post up at the right time for her. And then she's finally going to say, okay, let me now reach out to this person. So I believe the marketing in today's age it reflects still a lot of what we used to do back then, right? Which is make daily contacts, right? I use 12-6-3-1. Make 12 contacts a day. Through those 12 contacts, you should establish at least 6 good quality leads. Through those 6 quality leads, at some point you'll get 3 strategy calls or 3 appointments, 3 sales appointments. And because it's not paid for, because it's not, a person that's a complete stranger, because it is tied into that circle of influence, you should be able to close 1 out of 3. Okay. And that's what I teach. That's the marketing type of that I teach, that you need to still hit the ground, even though you're online, you still need to hit the floor just like you would work in a gym. I think social media has made us lazy. Social media made us lean too much into Instagram and Facebook. And if you don't have the following, and you don't have, a lot of organic content already there, how are you supposed to drum up those leads? How are you supposed to get people to buy in? How are you supposed to get good quality engagement? So you got to do it this way. And I think it really is more powerful when you do get someone on the phone. It's almost like that sale is so easy to close. It's really easy to convert that person. Versus trying to close someone that doesn't know you. You haven't built up any know, like, and trust. And it becomes a lot harder there. So that's kind of the marketing that I teach. Social media is just the place where you establish your credibility and authority. You do need to be consistent. You do need to be up there kind of telling your story in a right way and making sure you still build good quality know, like, and trust with your audience. But at the end of the day, it comes from your circle of influence.
I like that. So basically just a mailing list.
Yeah.
Like a modern day mailing list.
I mean, real estate people call, what is real? A good friend of mine's in real estate, and they call it, I forgot what they call it. They call it something very similar, but it's also, it's the same. It's a list, creative list of the people that's most closest to you.
Gotcha. So, yeah. Okay. Got it. So that's why building your list is so important. What do they say? Your network is your net worth. Okay. I like that. All right. So this has been great. So any closing advice that you would have for people who are thinking about getting online, people who are currently online?
Yeah. First things first, build a community over trying to establish getting followers. Like, you have to start to get people to buy in. And more than ever, you're in such a good position because more people want to connect more than ever because they've been so isolated, right? So you can use things like a text group, like a Telegram or a WhatsApp, or you can establish some sort of text group. You can create a Facebook community or an Instagram pod, but somewhere that you can start cultivating people and delivering free value daily. And if you can do it in person, fantastic, right? Do these little meetups. They're fun. I just did one here in Austin. We went for a sunrise hike. And I'm like, who the hell's going to wake up at sunrise? But I'm going to put it out there anyway. We had over 15 people and everyone connected. We had a really good time and it was awesome, right? And it was like, wow, this is amazing here. So that's where you got to start. Just start building a community, right? And then listen to them. ask them really good questions so that you can get good feedback and data on how you're going to position yourself or your product to them. Then from there, you need to hire someone to help you. Find someone who's done what you've already done and invest. The best feeling is investing in yourself. It's such a great feeling, right? So invest in yourself. It is literally going to save you so much time. My old coach, Craig Ballantyne, he always says, success loves speed. Success loves speed. And why you invest is you invest in speed. So get someone that's already done it. And here's the last thing. When you ask advice, instead of listening for all the things that you should be doing, listen up for the things that you have been unwilling to do. Because it's in the things that you've been unwilling to do, right? Making your own videos, putting yourself out there, right? All the things that you've been kind of, maybe it's the people you've made fun of that maybe you secretly want to do those things. It's all the things that you've been unwilling to do. Those are the things that are going to help you to be successful.
I like that quite a bit. Yeah, that's good stuff, man. Thanks for coming on, James. This is great.
Thank you so much.
Yeah. Yeah, I would love to have you back on sometime because this has been great. If nothing else, just kind of kibitzing back and forth.
Yeah.
So I always end with 3 questions, and it's one of my favorite parts of the show because we get some really good answers. We get to peek behind the curtain that is James Quigley. So my first question is, what has been your most successful failure? And by that, I mean, at the time, it seemed like a devastating loss that you weren't going to be able to recover from, but you were able to take life lessons that propelled you to greater success down the road.
It was trying to open up gyms here in Austin, and we had a great vision. We had everything lined up. We had a great team. We had a great investment team, and nothing added up. And I thought I was a complete failure because I believed everyone expected me to open up another great gym, right? That's the story I told myself, and it ended up being the greatest thing that never happened for me. So that was probably my greatest failure, was these gyms didn't open. And what it taught me was your greatest failures are often opportunities for your greatest successes.
Yeah. So what lessons did you learn from that you were able to use down the road?
Do more research. Right? Do more research. And what I mean by that is, don't lead with your ego. Don't, you do have to acquire data. It's so easy to say, be passionate about something, right? Everyone say, follow your passion, follow your passion. Well, at the end of the day, you do need data, slow things down, learn a little bit. That was for me. I was just going because I was so passionate, because I wanted to follow my heart and I wanted to get this thing going. And I probably skipped a lot of things that I shouldn't have skipped over, right? So slow down, right? Slow things down. You've got time. You hear all of these online gurus and they're like, go faster, move faster. Your competition's already doing it, right? And it's like, listen, go at your pace. Take action. We want you to take action. Absolutely. But learn through the action and give yourself some grace. So there was a lot of learning lessons in that. It allowed me to then really focus on the man. If you hear a dog crying, that's my dog. He wants to go out.
Yeah, I hear him. Is that a little Frenchie?
Yeah, no. He's a little guy right there.
Oh, okay.
He's been out all morning with me, but
yeah, right.
You gotta focus on the person. Your business is a reflection of you, so it's only going to go as far as you're going to be able to take it. So I had to put a lot of effort into my personal development and my personal growth. And it made me a better man. It made me a better partner for my then partner that I was with. It made me a better father, a better son, a better brother. And that made me a better leader. And so don't skip over your personal growth. Don't put a shit to the side. Lean into that stuff. Lean into the stress and the struggle. That's what really led to me just overcoming a lot of obstacles. And now I'm able to take those lessons and teach them forward.
Yeah. It's very similar to just finding your vision, mission, and core values for yourself.
For sure.
And just reminding yourself of that on a daily basis. I like that. Okay. And then my next question is, in your time in the fitness industry, what has been the biggest surprise that you've had to deal with that you did not see coming? And COVID is exempt because nobody saw that coming.
For sure. Oh man, that's a good one that I didn't see coming. I got to think about that one for a really good second, You know what? No, I got it. I didn't see this coming. And I should have seen it coming. I didn't. All the gimmicks in the boutique space that started popping up. We were doing really, really well with the gyms. CrossFit came on the scene and it created this awesome buzz around being able to take a group model and make it really awesome. But then all of these places started opening up. It was like places that we're going to shut the lights off. We're going to make it really cold in here. Like all of these gimmicks started popping up. And I think it just confused the hell out of people, confused the hell out of the market, right? And I did not see that. I should have saw that coming, but I did not see that coming. And for me, I got resentful. I got really resentful of people that I love, people that I work with. And I'm like, why would you do that? You don't need to do that. So I didn't see that coming at all. I don't know if you've dealt with that. In New York City, we really dealt with like the brand gimmicks and they just lost their minds.
Yeah. I see that because everybody, if somebody does something and it works and it's real disruptive, then everybody tries to jump on the bandwagon. And that's what I mean by it can be real incestuous, because then, if somebody says, hey, what's up, buddy? Oh, hot yoga is the best. No, cold yoga is the best. Yoga with goats on your back is the best. And it just, you know what I mean? And it just goes on and on and on. It just, they keep recycling that till it gets to some ridiculous extreme, and then people are like, okay, that's enough, get out of here.
You saw with the spin industry, you saw with the cycling industry, right? Like first, there was just Soul Cycle hit the market, and then you saw all of these other brands try to come up and they started putting tubes on the ceiling and saw all of these crazy things for cycling. And it was like, man, just ride the bike. The workout is great, and a great instructor with great music. You can't, that's great. And so, that's, you saw that really take shape with all the cycling craziness that happened.
Yeah, I agree. That's funny. And then my last question is, and I'm interested to hear this one, because I think you've already shared some of it, but where do you go for your personal and professional development?
That changes a lot because I've become such a student over the last 4 years. I've really dedicated a lot of time to my own growth. And I've been very fortunate to be able to do that. So recently, obviously, Tony's always going to be the guy. Tony Robbins, always going to be the guy. I love Ed Milet. But recently, I've been into a lot more. Aubrey Marcus, I think, is a great resource if you're someone that, you just want to kind of challenge yourself consciously a little bit more, right? And spiritually. Joe Dispenza, I love his stuff, right? I think Joe Dispenza, learning the brain, learning how, things operate. There's people that are very spiritual and there's people that are very practical. And I kind of fly down the middle because I think a lot of it kind of intertwines. So Joe's been a big guy that I've been consuming a lot of lately. And there's one more. I'm drawing a blank. His name's Andrew Huberman. He was just recently on Joe Rogan. You know what I'm talking about?
Oh yes, he's the endocrinology guy, right?
Yeah.
Is that him?
Yeah. So I'm all into that these days. Like I'm all into that. But I'm finding myself shifting into, so that's really the practical side, right? That's really been a lot of the practical. So I'm finding like now I'm starting to get pulled into the spiritual journey. And so I'm gonna kind of lean into that. So I don't know where I'm gonna lean yet. I don't know where I'm going with that yet, but I'm feeling called to go there.
Yeah. Okay. Awesome, man. Well, again, this has been great, James. So where can people go to find out more, contact you, hire you, all that good stuff?
Oh, thank you. So you can find me on Instagram. It's a great place to connect with me. James P, as in Paul Quigley, James P Quigley on Instagram. If you go to my site, amplifyonlinecoach.com, unwilling.com. There's a free training there for you, absolutely free, to help you to take your business online without, fussing about with technology and a website. Really easy to digest, free training for you there. And then those are the two great places that we can connect.
Okay. And those links will be in the show notes. Go to trainerjim.net, click on this episode of the podcast, and all the links to contact James will be right there, man. This has been great. Thanks, James. What's your dog's name?
Cooper.
Cooper?
Yeah, Cooper. Look at him. He's ready to go. He's like, dude.
He's a cutie. That's funny. That's my son's middle name's Cooper. He's a cutie though. But I'm a big dog guy. So
yeah. Well, I want to say it's really nice to talk to an older gentleman. I've kind of come to terms where I'm never going to be the older man in the group anymore. So when you said 1990, I was like, yeah.
Oh yeah. I am
definitely great, man.
Yeah, thank you. Well, it's clean living, right?
Yeah,
and now I'm like you. I'm on a journey of self-discovery. So I'm trying to get all zen. But let me tell you, it was tough today.
You had one of those days, man.
Yeah, for sure.
Lean into your tools. You got to lean.
That's right. That's right. I had to USA for a second. All right, man. Well, thanks again, and have a good rest of your day.
Thanks, buddy. I want to take a picture real quick.
Okay.
All right, brother. Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Same here.